I'd like to welcome everybody to Check Your Shelf. This is season 2. We're reading Catcher in the Rye. My name's Aaron. Some of y'all might know me by Gimme, but some of y'all might not know me at all. But I think it's really important that we know these books really intimately. So I'm gonna have to ask you to go check your shelf. What's up, all y'all beautiful young people, violent felons, and decrepit old bastards? Another episode of Check Your Shelf, man. We're looking like we're sitting on episode 13 right now. Part 5 of Catcher in the Rye. About halfway through, so I just want to remind y'all, man, if you want to vote on the next book we're going to read, we got 5 books up for vote. Those books are Catch-22, The Great Gatsby, 1984, Brave New World, and we replaced Catcher in the Rye with The Complete Mouse, which is a more modern book than all these other ones. I think it was written in the 80s or 90s, as opposed to like the 50s, 60s, 70s, or whatever. I'd have to look up all the dates, but at any rate, we're talking about this book, and this book is Catcher in the Rye, where we have a delinquent ass teenager. At least he wants us to believe he is. I think he's just a compulsive liar. A couple of my listeners and I were talking about this. I can't believe anything this kid says, and the fact that he's retelling his own story means that he's probably making this whole fucking thing up. But the last episode we did experience another little bit of obsession about these ducks, right? So I think it is interesting to point out that we do get glimpses of the super honest Holden, but they're sparing. They're rare. We experienced a couple cocktails at the piano bar and how he might have interacted with a couple of ladies. We got to experience how Holden would handle a pimp in the elevator. And Holden also got himself into a fight, and he said he would have liked to have handled it with an automatic. No, the fuck you wouldn't, bro. It's the 50s, and you're in New York. But, anyway. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We go jump into this mafk real quick. And I'd like to see you guys in the Discord. So go ahead and follow that link up there in the top right. Come holler at us, man. Talk about whatever you want. Hey, but if I don't see you in the Discord, I'm gonna see you somewhere. I promise you that. Wait, fuck. I'm not a stalker, I promise. All right, whatever. Let's just read the book. Love you guys. Catcher in the Rye, chapter 15. If you're reading along, if you on YouTube, we got the PDF brought up there for you so you can read along with us there. Chapter 15. I didn't sleep too long because I think it was only around 10 o'clock when I woke up. I felt pretty hungry as soon as I had a cigarette. The last time I'd eaten was those 2 hamburgers I had with Brossard and Ackley when we went into Hagerstown to the movies, and that was a long time ago. Seemed like 50 years ago. The phone was right next to me, and I started to call down and have them send up some breakfast, but I was sort of afraid they might send it up with old Maurice. If you think I was dying to see him again, you're crazy. So I just laid around in bed for a while and smoked another cigarette. I thought of giving old Jane a buzz to see if she was home yet and all, but I wasn't in the mood. Bro, I hate to do this already, but we're a fucking 30 seconds into chapter 15. Stop thinking about giving old Jane a buzz, you pussy. You know you are in the mood. That's why you thought about it. God, I can't stand this fucking kid, dude. I don't know how I ever related to this guy. What I did do, I gave old Sally Hayes a buzz. She went to Mary A. Woodruff, and I knew she was home because I'd had this letter from her a couple weeks ago. I wasn't too crazy about her, but I'd known her for years. I used to think she was quite intelligent in my stupidity. The reason I did was because she knew quite a lot about the theater, and plays, and literature, and all that stuff. If somebody knows quite a lot about those things, it takes you quite a while to find out whether they're really stupid or not. It took me years to find out in old Sally's case. I think I'd have found it out a lot sooner if we hadn't necked so damn much. My big trouble is, I always sort of think whoever I'm necking is a pretty intelligent person. It hasn't got a goddamn thing to do with it, but I keep thinking it anyway. Anyway, I gave her a buzz. So, JD Salinger, are you really trying to tell me that you actually decided to end a paragraph and then start the next paragraph with the same word? Bro, you be using... phony is just the word of the book, but man, it should have fucking been anyway, bro. Anyway, I gave her a buzz. First the maid answered, and then her father. And then she got on. Sally? I said. Yes? Who is this? She said. She was quite a little phony. I'd already told her father who it was. Okay, but that doesn't mean the dad is fucking enough of a person to be like, hey Sally, it's Holden Caulfield. Like, I'm sorry, I'm coming into this a little hot because I'm angry with Holden. We're getting into the meat of the book, and he was talking about bringing an automatic to a fist fight type shit to kill that pimp. How you gonna kill a pimp with an automatic, son? Come on now, can't be doing all that. Anyway, I gave her a buzz. She got on. Sally? Yes, who's this, you phony? I already told her father who it was. Holden Caulfield, how are you? Holden, I'm fine. How are you? Swell. Listen, how are you anyway? I mean, how's school? Fine, she said. I mean, you know. Swell. Well, listen, I was wondering if you were busy today. It's Sunday, but there's always 1 or 2 matinees going on Sunday. Benefits and all that stuff. Would you care to go? I'd love to. Grand. Grand. If there's one word I hate, it's grand. It's so phony. For a second, I was tempted to tell her to forget about the matinee. But we chewed the fat for a while. That is, she chewed it. You couldn't get a word in edgewise. First, she told me about some Harvard guy. It was probably a freshman, but she didn't say, naturally. That was rushing hell out of her. That was rushing hell out of her. That's gotta be some old ass slang. I can't even figure out what the hell that means. I guess like she was just dying to say it, I guess. Anyway. Calling her up night and day, that killed me. And then she told me about some other guy, some West Point cadet that was cutting his throat over her too. Oh, we got a phony counter I almost missed. I usually wait till the end of the paragraph so I don't fuck up the flow, but I don't know, I kind of made commentary anyway. I should have just added that bitch. Also, this is something grand. If there's one word I hate, it's grand. It's so phony. This has got to be the 4th or 5th instance of him doing some shit like that. I wish I smoke way too much reefer to have a good memory about it, but I feel like he's done that shit like 3 or 4 times. Man, if there's one thing I hate, man, if there's one type of person I hate. God, this kid irks me, dude. Big deal. I told her to meet me under the clock at the Biltmore at 2 o'clock and not to be late, because the show probably started at 2:30. She was always late. Then I hung up. She gave me a pain in the ass, but she was very good looking. After I made the date with old Sally, I got out of bed, got dressed, and packed my bag. I took a look out the window before I left the room, though, to see how all the perverts were doing. But they all had their shades down. They were the heights. I feel like I'm just gonna fucking... That word is like a dagger on my tongue, dude. I hate that fucking word so much. They were the heights of modesty in the morning. Then I went down in the elevator and checked out. I didn't see old Maurice around anywhere. I didn't break my neck looking for him, naturally, the bastard. I got a cab outside the hotel, but I didn't have the faintest damn idea where I was going. I had no place to go. It was only Sunday, and I couldn't go home till Wednesday. Or Tuesday, the soonest. And I certainly didn't feel like going to another hotel and getting my brains beat out, so what I did, I told the driver to take me to Grand Central Station. It was right near the Biltmore, where I was meeting Sally later, and I figured what I'd do, I'd check my bags in one of those strong boxes that they give you a key to, and then get some breakfast. I was sort of hungry. While I was in the cab, I took out my wallet and sort of counted my money. I don't remember exactly what I had left, but it was no fortune or anything. I'd spent a king's ransom in about 2 lousy weeks. I really had. I'm a goddamn spendthrift at heart. Spendthrift. What an interesting vocabulary word. When I don't spend, I lose. Half the time, I sort of even forget to pick up my change at restaurants and nightclubs and all. It drives my parents crazy. You can't blame them. My father's quite wealthy, though. I don't know how much he makes. He's never discussed that stuff with me, but I imagine it's quite a lot. He's a corporation lawyer. Those boys really haul it in. Another reason I know he's quite well off, he's always investing money in shows on Broadway. They always flop, though, and it drives my mother crazy when he does it. She hasn't felt too healthy since Allie died, my brother. She's very nervous. And there's another reason why I hated like hell for her to know I got the axe again. So that's good. That's good. He's an insufferable prick who I can't stand, but at least he, feels some semblance of guilt when he has to tell his mom he did bad. So I don't think he's actually a bad kid. I don't know. I don't think he's a bad kid. I just think I'm wondering if his dad's maybe not a great role model. I'm wondering how Manhattan was in the 50s, if they were obsessed with wasn't this what's his name? Old blue, Frank Sinatra era and shit. You know what I mean? Like James Dean and Westerns and all that shit. Like the movies were huge then. So I don't know, man. Maybe Hollywood did this kid dirty too. It's tough. He's not a bad kid. We got little peaks inside of him that really make me have hope, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I can't just give it to him right yet, but we'll see. After I put my bags in one of those strong boxes at the station, I went into this little sandwich bar and had breakfast. I had quite a large breakfast for me. Orange juice, bacon and eggs, toast and coffee. I usually just drink some orange juice. Orange juiced? Did I put a D at the end of that? Did y'all hear that shit? Usually I just drink some orange juice. I'm a very light eater, I really am. That's why I'm so damn skinny. I was supposed to be on this diet where you eat a lot of starches and crap to gain weight and all, but I didn't ever do it. When I'm out somewhere, I generally just eat a Swiss cheese sandwich and a malted milk. It isn't much, but you get quite a lot of vitamins in the malted milk. HV Caulfield, Holden Vitamin Caulfield. What the fuck does that mean, JD Salinger, you fucking tweaker? Sorry, I took a dab and then sneezed 3 times before I launched up the chapter 15, so my sinuses are fucked. I'm gonna go see an ENT at some point. While I was eating my eggs, these 2 nuns with suitcases and all, I guess they were moving to another convent or something and were waiting for a train, came in and sat down next to me at the counter. They didn't seem to know what the hell to do with their suitcases, so I gave them a hand. They were these very inexpensive looking suitcases, the ones that aren't genuine leather or anything. It isn't important, I know, but I hate it when somebody has cheap suitcases. By the way, I should have had another counter where we got to make fun of Holden every time he was phony. That's some phony ass shit, bro. I'm wondering, I'm gonna put my cam in front of the book. Hey, now you can see my arm. What's up, arm? How you living, bro? Scoot that over. I don't know how that got messed up. I bumped my camera. Nah, cause that was post. That's not even, I hadn't moved my camera. What the fuck happened? Anyway. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, you should be following me on YouTube. But see, now, I would have edited that out, but now I feel compelled to leave it in. Oh my god, no one cares. Get back to the book. Holden's a phony. He doesn't like people with cheap suitcases. Fuck that guy. It sounds terrible to say it, but I can even get to hate somebody just looking at them if they have cheap suitcases with them. Something happened once. For a while when I was at Elkton Hills, I roomed with this boy Dick Slagle. that had this very inexpensive suitcases. He used to keep them under the bed instead of on the rack so that nobody'd see them standing next to mine. No, that's probably not why he chose to put them under the bed. That's the fucking reason you made up for yourself. Like, or either that or you told him to do it. Now I'm reading this book like, what the fuck kind of lies is Holden really trying to tell? Now I'm trying to figure out the actual story. Now I'm trying to figure out how all these people actually thought about Holden and how he's spinning the narrative. Maybe this is a good book. Fuck. For a while when I was at Elkton Hills, Dick Slagle, nobody'd see him standing there. It depressed the holy hell out of me. And I kept wanting to throw mine out or something or even trade with him. Mine came from Mark Cross, and they were genuine cowhide and all that crap. I guess they cost quite a pretty penny, but it was a funny thing. Here's what happened. What I did, I finally put my suitcases under my bed instead of on the rack so that old Slagle wouldn't get a goddamn inferiority complex about it. But here's what he did. The day after I put mine under my bed, he took them out and put them back on the rack. The reason he did it, took me a while to find out, was because he wanted people to think my bags were his. He really did. He was a funny guy that way. He was always saying snotty things about them. My suitcases, for instance. He kept saying they were too new and bourgeois. Bourgeois, which is the term that we have now turned into bougie, I think. There's no way those two words aren't the same thing and we just Americanized the fuck out of it. How's that pronounced? Bougie? Bourgeois? Bourgeois? Bougie, fuck it. That was his favorite goddamn word. He read it somewhere or heard it somewhere. Everything I had was bourgeois as hell. Even my fountain pen was bourgeois. He borrowed it off of me all the time, but it was bourgeois anyway. We only roomed together for about 2 months. Then we both asked to be moved. And the funny thing was, I sort of missed him after we moved. Because he had a hell of a good sense of humor, and we had a lot of fun sometimes. I wouldn't be surprised if he missed me too. At first, he only used to be kidding when he called my stuff bourgeois, and I didn't give a damn. It was sort of funny, in fact, but then after a while, you could tell he wasn't kidding anymore. The thing is, it's really hard to be roommates with people if your suitcases are much better than theirs. Nah, bruh. If that's the only reason is that your suitcases are different, that's not hard you can be roommates. I hate this kid. I'm literally stumbling over my words because what are you talking about, dude? That's the phoniest shit I've ever heard. If yours are really good ones and theirs aren't, you think if they're intelligent and all, the other person, and have a good sense of humor, that they don't give a damn whose suitcases are better, but they do. They really do. It's one of the reasons why I roomed with a stupid bastard like Stradlater. At least his suitcases were as good as mine. There's no way that this kid is this vapid and like materialistic, right? There's no way. This is crazy. Why does he want the reader to think that he's this big of that he's this stuck on material items and status? Anyway, these two nuns were sitting next to me and we sort of struck up a conversation. The one right next to me had one of those straw baskets that you see nuns and Salvation Army babes collecting dough with around Christmas time. You see them standing on the corners, especially Fifth Avenue, in front of the big department stores and all. Anyway, the one next to me dropped hers on the floor, and I reached down and picked it up for her. I asked her if she was out collecting money for charity and all, and she said no. She said she couldn't get it in her suitcase when she was packing it, and she was just carrying it. She had a pretty nice smile when she looked at you. She had a big nose, and she had on those glasses with sort of iron rims that aren't too attractive, but she had a hell of a kind face. I thought if you were taking up a collection, I told her, I could make a small contribution. You could keep the money for when you do take up a collection. Oh, how very kind of you, she said, and the other one, her friend, looked over at me. The other one was reading a little black book while she drank her coffee. It looked like a Bible, but it was too skinny. It was a Bible-type book, though. All the two of them were eating for breakfast was toast and coffee, and that depressed me. I hate it if I'm eating bacon and eggs or something and somebody else is only eating toast and coffee. So, interesting that he has such disdain for somebody whose suitcases aren't as nice as his, but he feels a little bit of empathy for somebody whose breakfast isn't as nice as his. It's an interesting parallel that I just noticed. Why is he depressed that they don't have as good of food as he does? Interesting. They let me give them $10 as a contribution. They kept asking me if I was sure I could afford it and all, and I had told them I had quite a bit of money with me, but they didn't seem to believe me. They took it though, finally. The both of them kept thanking me so much it was embarrassing. I swung the conversation around to conversation? But do I know how to read? Do I know how to speak? I swung the conversation around to general topics and asked them where they were going. They said they were school teachers and they'd just come from Chicago and they were going to start teaching at some convent on 168th Street, or 186th Street, or one of those streets way the hell uptown. The one next to me with the iron glasses said she taught English and her friend taught history and American government. Then I started wondering like a bastard what the one sitting next to me that taught English thought about being a nun and all. When she read certain books for English, like books not necessarily with a lot of sexy stuff in them, but books with lovers and all in them. Take old Eustacia Vi in The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. She wasn't too sexy or anything, but even so, you can't help wondering what a nun maybe thinks about when she reads about old Eustacia. I didn't say anything though, naturally. All I said was English is my best subject. Oh, really? Oh, I'm so glad. The one with the glasses that taught English said. How about get her fucking name? Is that not, I mean, if I was an author, I would start a conversation by getting the bitch's name, first of all, because that's how humans interact. And then you don't have to type as much. So I'm doubling down on that J.D. Salinger's not a great author. Does anyone else know anything else this motherfucker's written? Oh, really? I'm so glad. The one with glasses that taught English said, fuck that, stupid, I hate that. What have you read this year? I'd be very interested to know. She was really nice. Well, most of the time we were on the Anglo-Saxons, Beowulf, Grendel, Lord Randall, my son, all those things. But we had to read outside books for extra credit once in a while. I read The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy and Romeo and Juliet and Juliet. Oh, Romeo and Juliet, lovely. Didn't you just love it? She certainly didn't sound like much of a nun. Yes, I did. I liked it a lot. There were a few things I didn't like about it, but it was quite moving on the whole. Ooh, what didn't you like about it? Can you remember? To tell you the truth, it was sort of embarrassing in a way to be talking about Romeo and Juliet with her. I mean, that play gets pretty sexy in some parts. She was a nun and all, but she asked me, so I discussed it with her for a while. So, I think it is interesting. So I'm gonna take into the way I'm deciphering this is that he had the thought about bringing up that sexy book when he was talking about Eustacia. The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy was a sexy book. And then he brought it up as one of the books that he read this year in order to talk about it with the nun. He's a manipulative little fuck. I doubt he read it this year. And if he did, he probably wasn't paying attention. This dude's a fucking a dropout. Or he got expelled, whatever. Well, I'm not too crazy about Romeo and Juliet, I said. I mean, I like them, but I don't know. They get pretty annoying sometimes. I mean, I felt much sorrier when old Mercutio got killed than when Romeo and Juliet did. The thing is, I never liked Romeo too much after Mercutio got... Mercutio? Is it a Mercutio or Mercutio? I can't remember. I think it's Mercutio. I never liked Romeo too much after Mercutio gets stabbed by that other man. Juliet's cousin. What's his name? Tybalt. That's right, Tybalt. I always forget that guy's name. Anyway, it was Romeo's fault. I mean, I liked him the best in the play, Old Mercutio, I don't know. All those Montagues and Capulets, they're all right, especially Juliet, but Mercutio, it's hard to explain. He was very smart and entertaining and all. The thing is, it drives me crazy if somebody gets killed, especially somebody very smart and entertaining and all. All right, so let me get this straight. He was very smart and entertaining and all. Especially somebody very smart and entertaining and all. So it's weird because it's almost a cop-out because we're hearing this book through the eyes of Holden. So J.D. Salinger is like, oh, I can write this book like a fucking non-intelligent 17-year-old piece of shit. It'll be fine. I'll just repeat all three of those descriptions. Smart, entertaining, and all. This dude's writing style drives me crazy. The 50s are whack. If somebody gets killed, especially somebody very smart and entertaining and all, it's somebody else's fault. Romeo and Juliet, at least it was their own fault. What school do you go to? She asked me. She probably wanted to get off the subject of Romeo and Juliet. I told her Pensy and she'd heard of it. She said it was a very good school. I let it pass though. That's funny to me. Then the other one, the one that taught history and government, said they'd better be running along. I took their check off of them, but they wouldn't let me pay it. The one with the glasses made me give it back to her. You've been more than generous. You're a very sweet boy. She certainly was nice. She reminded me a little bit of old Ernest Morrow's mother, the one I met on the train. When she smiled, mostly, "We've enjoyed talking to you so much," she said. I said I'd enjoyed talking to them a lot too, and I meant it. I'd have enjoyed it even more though, I think, if I hadn't been sort of afraid the whole time I was talking to them that they'd all of a sudden try to find out if I was a Catholic. Really, bruh? That's why? I thought it was because you was trying to trick them into talking about sex. Anyway. Catholics are always trying to find out if you're a Catholic. It happens to me a lot. I know partly because my last name is Irish, and most people of Irish descent are Catholics. That's racist. I'm just kidding. I lost my place when I was leaning back. As a matter of fact, my father was a Catholic once. He quit though when he married my mother. But Catholics are always trying to find out if you're a Catholic, even if they don't know your last name. I knew this one Catholic boy, Louis Shaney, when I was at the Wooten School. He was the first boy I ever met there. He and I were sitting in the first two chairs outside the goddamn infirmary the day the school opened, waiting for our physicals, and we sort of struck up this conversation about tennis. He was quite interested in tennis, and so was I. He told me he went to the Nationals at Forest Hills every summer, and I told him I did too. And then we talked about certain hotshot tennis players for quite a while. He knew quite a lot about tennis for a kid his age. He really did. So you telling me every summer y'all went to Nationals at Forest Hills every fucking summer? Y'all both did and y'all never saw each other. Y'all never ran into each other. You didn't recognize this fucking guy? I hate this kid. Knew a lot about tennis. He really did. Then, after a while, right in the middle of the goddamn conversation, he asked me, "Did you happen to notice where the Catholic Church is in town by any chance?" Oh wait, I thought that was Holden. I'm dumb. Then, after a while, right in the middle of the goddamn conversation, he asked me, "Did you happen to notice where the Catholic Church is in town by any chance?" The thing was, you could tell by the way he asked me, he was trying to find out if I was a Catholic. Paranoid schizophrenic behavior. He really was. Not that he was prejudiced or anything, but he just wanted to know. He was enjoying the conversation about tennis and all, but you could tell he would have enjoyed it more if I was a Catholic and all. That kind of stuff drives me crazy. I don't think, not everybody on earth has ulterior motives, man. He was just asking about a church. Golly. I'm not saying it ruined our conversation or anything, it didn't, but it sure as hell didn't do it any good. That's why I was glad those two nuns didn't ask me if I was a Catholic. It wouldn't have spoiled the conversation if they had, but it would have been different probably. I'm not saying I blame Catholics, I don't. I'd be the same way probably if I was a Catholic. It's just like those suitcases I was telling you about in a way. All I'm saying is that it's no good for a nice conversation. That's all I'm saying. When they got up to go, the two nuns, I did something very stupid and embarrassing. I was smoking a cigarette, and when I stood up to say goodbye to them, by mistake, I blew some smoke in their face. I didn't mean to, but I did it. I apologized like a madman, and they were very polite and nice about it, but it was very embarrassing anyways. After they left, I started getting sorry that I'd only given them $10 for their collection, but the thing was, I'd made that date to go to a matinee with old Sally Hayes, and I needed to keep some dough for the tickets and stuff. I was sorry anyway though. Goddamn money. It always ends up making you blue as hell. It's an interesting way to end I've said a couple times in the series that ending the paragraphs is a very, seems to be a very poignant and succinct literary device that he uses he halfway does this sort of cliffhanger yet resolution thing, and it's really cool. That's one of my favorite things that he's done multiple times, is the way he ends chapters like that. But I do find it interesting that I was sorry anyway though, goddamn money, it always ends up making you blue as hell. I think that's a sort of self-inflicted wound, right? Because all of the reasons that he's hating people and getting depressed always have to do with money and status. So I don't think that's necessarily the case, it's just how he's treating the goddamn money. Chapter 16. After I had my breakfast, it was only around noon and I wasn't meeting old Sally till 2, so I started taking this long walk. I couldn't stop thinking about those two nuns. I kept thinking about that old beat up straw basket they went around collecting money with when they weren't teaching school. I kept trying to picture my mother or somebody, or my aunt, or Sally Hayes' Sally Hayes'. See? Evidence of a bad writer. That's not, you don't put that S there. It's crazy. And I don't know how I managed to triple up on the S, bro. I said Hayes's. Cause that stupid ass, bruh. Or Sally Hayes' crazy mother standing outside some department store and collecting dough for poor people in a beat up old straw basket. It was hard to picture. Not so much my mother, but those other two. My aunt's pretty charitable. She does a lot of Red Cross work and all, but she's very well dressed and all. And when she does anything charitable, she's always very well dressed and has lipstick on and all that crap. I couldn't picture her doing anything for charity if she had to wear black clothes and no lipstick while she was doing it. And old Sally Hayes' mother? Jesus Christ. The only way I could go around with a basket collecting dough would be if everybody kissed her ass for when they made a contribution. The only way she could go around, I think I said I don't know why. The only way she could go around with a basket collecting dough would be if everybody kissed her ass when they made a contribution. If they just dropped their dough in the basket and walked away without saying anything to her, ignoring her and all, she'd quit in about an hour. She'd get bored. She'd hand in her basket and then go someplace swanky for lunch. That's what I liked about those nuns. You could tell, for one thing, that they never went anywhere swanky for lunch. It made me so damn sad when I thought about it. They're never going anywhere swanky for lunch or anything. I knew it wasn't too important, but it made me sad anyway. I feel like I need to start just really laying it on thick when he repeats himself and says these like key phrases that he'd be repeating. Like, I'm just gonna get more nasally and annoying. Because it's just so blatantly obvious to me reading it out loud. Well, when I'm not reading out loud, if you read the book in your brain, it might not be as noticeable. But when I'm speaking it, it's obvious. I started walking over toward Broadway just for the hell of it because I hadn't been over there in years. And besides, I wanted to find a record store that was open on Sunday. There was this record I wanted to get for Phoebe called Little Shirley Beans. It was a very hard record to get. It was about a little kid who wouldn't go out of the house because of her 2 front teeth. They were knocked out and she was ashamed to go outside. I heard it at Pensy. A boy that lived on the next floor had it, and I tried to buy it off him because I knew it would knock old Phoebe out, but he wouldn't sell it. It was a very old, terrific record that this colored girl singer, Estelle Fletcher, made about 20 years ago. She sings a very Dixieland and whorehouse, and it doesn't sound at all mushy. If a white girl was singing it, she'd make it sound cute as hell, but old Estelle Fletcher knew what the hell she was doing. And it was one of the best records I ever heard. I figured I'd buy it in some store that was open on Sunday, and then I'd take it up to the park with me. It was Sunday, and Phoebe goes roller skating in the park on Sundays quite frequently. I knew where she hung out mostly. It wasn't as cold as the day before, but the sun still wasn't out. And it wasn't too nice for walking, but there was one nice thing. This family, you could tell, just came out of some church. They were walking right in front of me. Father, mother, a little kid about 6 years old. They looked sort of poor. Oh my God, are you poor? Are you guys poor? The father had on one of those pearl gray hats that poor guys wear a lot when they want to look sharp. He and his wife were just walking along, talking, not paying any attention to their kid. The kid was swell. He was walking in the street instead of on the sidewalk, but right next to the curb. He was making out like he was walking a very straight line the way kids do, and the whole time he kept singing and humming. I got up closer so I could hear what he was singing. He was singing that song, If a Body Catch a Body Coming Through the Rye. I've never heard that song, but that was a fire melody that I made up on the fucking spot. He had a pretty little voice too. He was just singing for the hell of it, you could tell. The cars zoomed by, brakes screeched all over the place. His parents paid no attention to him, and he kept on walking next to the curb singing, If a body catch a body coming through the rye. It made me feel better. It made me feel not so depressed anymore. Broadway was mobbed and messy. It was Sunday and only about 12 o'clock, but it was mobbed anyway. Everybody was on their way to the movies. The Paramount or the Astor or the Strand or the Capitol or one of those crazy places. See, that's good evidence, excuse me, that's good evidence of what I was talking about at the top of the episode. The Paramount, the Astor, the Strand, the Capitol, he just named 4 theaters that people could go see movies to, so obviously Hollywood was a very big influence on this kid. And I wonder if it was to his detriment. We have to think that it was at least a little bit. Maybe it was more pure and stuff in the 50s, but I mean, media today is nothing but horrible for us in the most part if you're not able to separate it and compartmentalize it, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was all dressed up because it was Sunday, and that made it worse. But the worst part was that you could tell they all wanted to go to the movies. I couldn't stand looking at them. I can understand somebody going to the movies because there's nothing else to do, but when somebody really wants to go and even walks fast as to get there quicker, see, J.D. Salinger, maybe in his brain, he's going, I'm a good writer, so I know it should be get there more quickly, but I'm a 17-year-old piece of shit in this book, so I'm going to say quicker. I'm hoping that's what he does, and I really am giving him the benefit of the doubt. And they want to walk fast just to get there quicker. It depresses the hell out of me, especially if I see millions of people standing in one of those long, terrible lines all the way down the block, waiting with this terrific patience for seats and all. Boy, I couldn't get off that goddamn Broadway fast enough. I was lucky. The first record store I went to had a copy of Little Shirley Beans. I thought he was lucky because he got out of Broadway. He's lucky because he went into the fucking record store. That should have been a new paragraph, J.D. Salinger. We're going back and forth here. We're ping-ponging on your ability to be a fucking competent writer here. I'm angry. All right. I was lucky. The first record store I went into had a copy of Little Shirley Beans. They charged me $5 for it because it was so hard to get, but I didn't care. Boy, it made me so happy all of a sudden. I could hardly wait to get to the park to see if old Phoebe was around so that I could give it to her. When I came out of the record store, I passed this drugstore and I went in. I figured maybe, see, look. When I came out of the record store, I passed this drugstore and went in. You see how there's a change of scenery and you decided to start a new paragraph, you fuck? God, I'm not even drunk. I've had 2 seltzers, bro. And I'm fuming. Well, sorry, this is my 3rd seltzer, so yeah, but it's only halfway. Shout out Topo Chico. Not a sponsor, but you should be. When I came out of the record store, I passed this drugstore and I went in. I figured maybe I'd give old Jane a buzz and see if she was home for vacation yet. Bruh, we need to get thinking about giving Jane a buzz counter, man. Come on, bro. So I went into a phone booth and I called her up. The only trouble was her mother answered the phone, so I had to hang up. Pussy. I didn't feel like getting involved in a long conversation and all with her. No, you weren't. You were scared. I'm not crazy about talking to girls' mothers on the phone anyway. I should have at least asked her if Jane was home yet, though. It wouldn't have killed me, but I didn't feel like it. You really have to be in the mood for that stuff. All right, he's not wrong. I do kind of have to gather the energy to make phone calls, especially to people like strangers. Like if I have to place an appointment, or if I have to like dispute a charge on my credit card, or inquire about availability of. I hate all that shit. I do hate that. But it's not more than a fucking couple quick breaths and a push-up or 2, right? Like do a sit-up, bruh. You really had to be in the mood for that stuff. I still had to get those damn theater tickets, so I bought a paper and looked up to see what shows were playing. On account of it was Sunday, there were only about 3 shows playing, so what I did was I went over and I bought 2 orchestra seats. That's hard to say. I bought 2 orchestra seats. Literally right now, as you're listening to this, try to say, bought 2 orchestra seats. It took me 3 tries. I hope you get it on the first one. I went over and I bought 2 orchestra seats for I Know My Love. It was a benefit performance or something. I didn't much want to see it, but I knew old Sally, the queen of the phonies. Ooh, phonies. That's plural. Do we get 2 because it's plural? How does that work? I need a judge. Rules judge? TD? Somebody bring a TD over here. Need a phony rule? The queen of the phonies would start drooling all over the place when I told her I had tickets for that because the lunts were in it and all. See, it should be lunces, right? Is there more than one lunce? This book is gonna make me vomit because the lunts were in it and all. He liked shows that were supposed to be very sophisticated and dry and all with the lunts and all. I don't like any shows very much, if you want to know the truth. They're not as bad as movies, but there's certainly nothing to rave about. In the first place, I hate actors. They never act like people. They just think they do. Are we getting meta here, J.D. Salinger? Because you hate actors because they never act like people, but you write dialogue like people don't speak. Interesting. Some of the good ones, they never act like people, they just think they do. Some of the good ones do, in a very slight way, but not in a way that's fun to watch. If any actor is really good, you can always tell he knows he's good, and that spoils it. Take Sir Laurence Olivier, for example. I saw him in Hamlet. DB took Phoebe to the tree, and we see a squirrel in the... Anyway. I saw him in Hamlet. DB took Phoebe and I to see it last year. He treated us to lunch first, and then he took us. He'd already seen it, and the way he talked about it at lunch, I was anxious as hell to see it too, but I didn't enjoy it much. I just don't see what's so marvelous about Sir Laurence Olivier, that's all. But I didn't enjoy it much. I just don't see what's so marvelous about Sir Laurence Olivier, that's all. He has a terrific voice, and he's a hell of a handsome guy, and he's very nice to watch when he's walking or dueling or something, but
He wasn't at all the way DB said Hamlet was. He was too much like a goddamn general instead of a sad, screwed up type of guy. The best part in the whole picture was when Ophelia's brother, the one that gets in the duel with Hamlet at the very end. Spoiler alert, Holden, god damn, dude. The best part of the whole picture, Ophelia's brother one's gonna duel with the Hamlet, yep. Fuck, now I feel like I need to read it properly because it wasn't smooth. The best part in the whole picture was when old Ophelia's brother, the one that gets in the duel with Hamlet at the very end, was going away and his father was giving him a lot of advice. See? Why is that the best scene in the book? Because his dad's not been around to give him good advice. Relatable. That's why. He related to it. Holden related to that. Alright. While the father kept giving him a lot of advice, old Ophelia was sort of horsing around with her brother, taking his dagger out of the holster and teasing him and all while he was trying to look interested in the bull his father was shooting. That was nice. I got a big bang out of that, but you don't see that kind of stuff much. The only thing Phoebe liked was when Hamlet patted this dog on the head. She thought that was funny and nice, and it was. What I'll have to do is, I'll have to read that play. The trouble with me is, I always have to read that stuff by myself. If an actor acts it out, I hardly listen. I keep worrying about whether he's gonna do something phony every minute. Okay, I can actually relate to that a little bit because since I film and edit and direct a lot of like video type stuff, I always kind of look at it from two perspectives. I look at it as, how is this supposed to be portrayed in terms of the story, but also, how was it to film this scene? How are the actors, how do these real humans feel as though they are the actor? Like, it is kind of cool to dig into stuff like that a little bit deeper. See, oh look, Lunts, see, I always read like 9 words at a time. He brought the apostrophe for Lunts, so now it is Luntz's. Good job, JD. It only took you 3 tries to get that apostrophe there. Proud of you, buddy. After I got the tickets to the Luntz's show, I took a cab up to the park. I should have taken a subway or something because I was getting slightly low on dough, but I wanted to get off that goddamn Broadway as fast as I could. It was lousy in the park. It wasn't too cold, but the sun still wasn't out. That's how you started the fucking chapter 15, bro. You can't stop it. You stop it. You get better vocabulary, Holden. I'm sick of you. It was lousy in the park. It wasn't too cold, but the sun still wasn't out. And there didn't look like there was anything in the park except dog crap and globs of spit and cigar butts from old men. And the benches all looked like they'd be wet if you sat down on them. It made you depressed, and every once in a while, for no reason, you got goose flesh while you walked. It didn't seem at all like Christmas was coming soon. It didn't seem like anything was coming. But I kept walking over to the mall anyway, because that's where Phoebe usually goes when she's in the park. She likes to skate near the bandstand. It's funny. That's the same place I used to like to skate when I was a kid. I don't believe you, by the way. I think you're just saying that so you can try to feel closer to your sister. I don't believe you. Now I feel like I'm interrogating Holden. I'm like reading this book as though it's like a dissertation or like a deposition or some shit. When I got there though, I didn't see her. So he went to the park, same place he used to skate, whatever. When I got there though, I didn't see her around anywhere. There were a few kids around skating and all, and 2 boys were playing flies up with a softball, but no Phoebe. I saw one kid about her age though, sitting on a bench all by herself, tightening her skate. I thought maybe she might know Phoebe and could tell me where she was or something, so I went over and sat down next to her and asked her, "Do you know Phoebe Caulfield by chance? Yo, is Holden really so fucking ignorant to the size of New York and Manhattan? You just gonna go ask another 8-year-old if she knows your sister, bro? Who is this dense motherfucker, bro? Oh my god." Do you know Phoebe Caulfield by chance? Who? She said. Who? I don't know, I can't find a 7-8-year-old girl voice. Who? All she had on was jeans and about 20... Ooh, I'm an owl, oh my god. All she had on was jeans and about 20 sweaters. You could tell her mother made them for her because they were lumpy as hell. Phoebe Caulfield. She lives on 71st Street. She's in the 4th grade. You know Phoebe? Yeah, I'm her brother. You know where she is? She's in Miss Callan's class, isn't she? I don't know. Yes, I think she is. She's probably in the museum then. We went last Saturday. Which museum? She shrugged her shoulders. She shrugged her shoulders, sort of. That's another little bit of a tongue twister. Is this guy a riddle maker? She shrugged her shoulders, sort of. I don't know, she said. The museum? I know, but the one where the pictures are, or the one where the Indians are? The one where the Indians. Thanks a lot. I got up, started to go, and then I suddenly remembered it was Sunday. This is Sunday, I told the kid. She looked up at me. Oh, then she isn't. She was having a hell of a time tightening her skate. She didn't have any gloves on or anything, and her hands were all red and cold. I gave her a hand with it. Boy, I hadn't had a skate key in my hand for years. It didn't feel funny though. You could put a skate key in my hand 50 years from now in pitch dark and I'd still know what it is. She thanked me and all when I had it tightened for her. She was a very nice, polite little kid. God, I love it when a kid's nice and polite when you tighten their skate for them or something. Most kids are. They really are. I asked her if she'd care to have a hot chocolate or something with me, but she said no thank you. She said she had to meet her friend. Kids always have to meet their friend. That kills me. So now it's starting to look like a pattern where Holden is inviting a lot of people out to do things with him. And they always reject for a reason or two, right? I'm curious if he's doing that to further the idea that he's a lonely, incel type of guy. Or if he's really just that off-putting and he doesn't realize that it's his vibes that are making all these people not want to hang out with him. I don't know. Even though it was Sunday and Phoebe wouldn't be there with her class or anything, and even though it was so damp and lousy out, I walked all the way through the park over to the Museum of Natural History. I knew that was the museum the kid with the skate key meant. I knew that whole museum routine like a book. Phoebe went to the same school I went to when I was a kid, and we used to go there all the time. We had this teacher, Miss Agletinger. What the fuck kind of name? Y'all know any Agletingers? What the hell? Agletingers? We had this teacher, Miss Agletinger. See, she ain't even married, bro. She ain't even reproducing out here. Oh, well, she would've got married. Well, I don't know. I got my mom's last name because my dad was a piece of shit, so. Shout out Christofferson, baby. Miss Agletinger that took us there damn near every Saturday. Sometimes we looked at the animals and sometimes we looked at the stuff the Indians had made in ancient times. Pottery and straw baskets and all the stuff like that. I get very happy when I think about it, even now. I remember after we looked at all the Indian stuff, usually we would see some movie in this big auditorium, Columbus. They were always showing Columbus, discovering America, having one hell of a time getting old Ferdinand and Isabella to lend him the dough to buy ships with, and then the sailors mutinying on him, mutinying. I've never said that word before, I don't think. And then the sailors mutinying on him and all. Nobody gave too much of a damn about old Columbus, but you always had a lot of candy and gum and stuff with you, and the inside of that auditorium had a nice smell. It always smelled like it was raining outside, even if it wasn't. And you were the only nice, dry. It always smelled like it was raining outside, even if it wasn't. And you were in the only nice, dry, cozy place in the world. I loved that damn museum. I remember you had to go through the Indian room to get to the auditorium. It was a long, long room and you were only supposed to whisper. The teacher would go first and then the class. You'd be 2 rows of kids and you'd have a partner. Most of the time, my partner was this girl named Gertrude Levine. She always wanted to hold your hand. See, every time, there's a moth in here. Every time I record, did you see it? It just flew in front of the camera. Did you see it? You cocksucking moth fucker. Most of the time, my partner was this girl named Gertrude Levine. Levine? Gertrude Levine. Levine sounds more natural. It was his partner, Gertrude Levine. She always wanted to hold your hand. And her hand was always sticky or sweaty or something. The floor was all stone. And if you had some marbles in your hand and you dropped them, they bounced like madmen all over the floor and made a hell of a racket. And the teacher would hold up the class and go back and see what the hell was going on. Did you do that? How do you know that? Is that just something you're saying to help us understand what a marble floor or a stone floor and how it interacts with marbles? What are we talking about right now? You better have done that, and if you did do it, you should have told us, the reader, that you did it, Holden / JD Salinger. Bad. All right, now I feel like I'm gonna have to start keeping a bad author, good author fucking checkbox, like tick marks. What's it when you do the four things and the slash through it? What's it called? Anyway, hold up the class and go back and see what the hell is going on. She never got sore though, Miss Agletinger. What a weird word. It fucking throws me off. She never got sore though, Miss Agletinger. And then you'd pass by this long Indian war canoe, about as long as 3 goddamn Cadillacs in a row with about 20 Indians in it. Some of them paddling, some of them just standing around looking tough, and they all had war paint all over their faces. There was one very spooky guy in the back of the canoe with a mask on. He was the witch doctor. He gave me the creeps, but I liked him anyway. Another thing, if you touched one of the paddles or anything while you were passing, one of the guards would say to you, "Don't touch anything, children." But he always said it in a nice voice. Man, see, bro, I'm trying to do these voices on the fly, and then you're gonna say something like that? Now I gotta go back and Mr. Rogers this shit. Another thing would be if you touched a paddle, the guard would be like, "Don't touch anything, children." But he always said it in a nice voice. Not like a goddamn cop or anything. See, my fucking voice was just like a cop. Holden, sometimes I think you're calling me out on being a phony. Then you'd pass by this big glass case with Indians inside it rubbing sticks together to make a fire, and a squaw weaving a blanket. The squaw that was weaving the blanket was sort of bending over and you could see her bosom and all. Fuck, now I need to make sure squaw's not a goddamn slur. Alright, let's get a quick goog. Get a quick goog going on here. The Google cam. Just kidding. I was gonna put reverb and shit on my voice, but I'm not doing that. Squaw? Squaw meaning. Uh-oh, guys. A squaw is an offensive noun for a North American Indian woman or wife. I apologize to all of my Native American friends that are listening, but that's what banned books are about. It's not intentional. This is not malicious. You'll get over it, ya bitch. Also said whorehouse in this episode. What an explicit episode. The squaw that was weaving the blanket was sort of bending over, and you could see her bosom and all. We all used to sneak a good look at it, even the girls, because they were only little kids and they didn't have any more bosom than we did. Then, just before you went inside the auditorium, right near the doors, you passed this Eskimo. Eskimo, I think, is also an offensive term now. I had no idea. Inuit, I think, is probably... No, I think that might be specific Eskimos. I don't know. Just don't call them anything. Passed over this Eskimo. He was sitting right over this hole in the icy lake, and he was fishing through it. He had about 2 fish right next to the hole that he'd already caught. Boy, that museum was full of glass cases. There were even more upstairs, with deer inside them drinking at water holes and birds flying south for the winter. The birds nearest you were all stuffed and hung up on wires, and the ones in the back were just painted on the wall. But they looked like they were really flying south, and if you bent your head down and sort of looked at them upside down, they looked in even bigger hurry. They looked in even ribbity, baby. Couple ribbities today. They looked in an even bigger hurry to fly south. The best thing, though, in that museum, was that everything always stayed right where it was. Nobody would move. You could go there 100,000 times, and that Eskimo would still be just finished catching those 2 fish, and the birds would still be on their way south. The deers would still be drinking out of that water hole with their pretty antlers and their pretty skinny legs, and that squaw with the naked bosom would still be weaving that same blanket. But nobody'd be different. Only thing that'd be different would be you. Not that you'd be much older or anything, it wouldn't be that exactly, you'd just be different, that's all. You'd have an overcoat on this time, or the kid that was your partner in line last time got scarlet fever and you'd have a new partner. Or you'd have a substitute taking the class instead of Miss Aglitinger. Or you'd heard your mother and father having a terrific fight in the bathroom. Or you'd just pass one of those puddles in the street with gasoline rainbows in them. I mean, you'd be different in some way. I can't explain what I mean, and even if I could, I'm not sure I'd feel like it. God, what an interesting passage that was, huh? So I feel a yearning for Holden to be drawn back into those past. He has a very strong attachment to nostalgia and how things used to be. I wonder if that happened when Allie died, when his brother passed. You'd be different in some way. I can't explain what I mean, and even if I could, I'm not sure I'd feel like it. I feel like Holden, why would you even say something like that? Like, it feels like he's trying to come across as a badass. Very strange, very strange. I took my old hunting hat out of my pocket while I walked, and I put it on. I know I wouldn't meet anybody that knew me, and it was pretty damp out. I kept walking and walking. I kept thinking about old Phoebe going to that museum on Saturdays the way I used to. I thought how she'd see the same stuff I used to see, and how she'd be different every time she saw it. It didn't exactly depress me to think about it, but it didn't make me feel gay as hell either. Wow, one of the rare instances where gay means happy. Certain things, they should just stay the way they are. You ought to be able to stick them in one of those big glass cases and just leave them alone. I know that's impossible, but it's too bad anyway. Anyway, I kept thinking about all that while I walked. I passed by this playground and stopped and watched a couple very tiny kids on a seesaw. One of them was sort of fat, and I put my hand on the skinny kid's end to sort of even up the weight, but you could tell they didn't want me around, so I left them alone. Then a funny thing happened. When I got to the museum, all of a sudden I wouldn't have gone inside for $1,000,000. It just didn't appeal to me. And here, I'd walked the whole goddamn park and looked forward to it and all. If Phoebe'd been there, I probably would have, but she wasn't. And so all I did in front of the museum was get a cab and go down to the Biltmore. I didn't feel much like going. I'd made that damn date with Sally, though. Damn. Poor Holden. Poor Holden, because now I'm kind of relating to him in a different way. I'm hating all of this egocentric based decision making and the lies that he's telling to us, the reader, and
etc., but he does find a way to draw you back in with stuff like that. You can tell it feels like life is sort of slipping away from him. He wouldn't go inside the museum for $1 million, but if Phoebe was in there, he would have gone. And he has redeeming qualities. They are few and far between, but I can't help but I feel like I want to mentor this kid in a way. Like, it will involve a lot of slapping him around. Like, I'll yank on that dude's ear and shit a bunch, but man, what a fun book. I would like to remind you that not every protagonist is a hero. I think Holden is a little bit of an anti-hero. Maybe J.D. Salinger is doing a good job at reflecting some sort of undesirable qualities that a lot of us may have inside of us, and he has written a character that makes people feel emotions and get emotional. And a lot of media, if not all media, is intended to invoke emotion. So this book is invoking a lot of emotion in me, and I'm invested. And it's cool, and it's a good book, and I'm glad that I decided to read it again as an adult. I haven't read it in probably what did we say at the top of the season? Fucking 12 years, 16 years, something like that. But very fun read. I'm excited to see how his date with Sally goes, but we're going to get into that next episode. Just a quick reminder, man, go to Discord. It's up at the top right. I'll have links in the description. Facebook.com/groups/check your shelf. Vote on the book you want to hear next. Holla at your boy. Give me a hug. Buy me a dress. Cook me a steak. Lick the bottom of my foot. Tell me I'm a good boy. I'll see y'all next week, bro. Check your shelf, baby.